Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the council meeting for Tuesday, May the 5th, 2026, and we're being streamed live. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:37 with the land acknowledgement. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Next, I need approval of that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmon Lake for Tuesday, May the 5th, 2026 be approved as presented. I have a mover and a seconder, Eric and Ron. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Being none. Next is the mayor's report. April 21st, I presided over the regular meetings of Planning and Council. April 26th, I attended the volunteer recognition ceremony in Center Hastings at the Kiwanis Club. The following recipients were recognized for their exemplary community service, and their names were placed on the honorary wall of honor. And I'll just be brief, but to recognize them. Dr. Janet Webb for her contribution to Hospice House, the O'Hara Mill Museum, Karen and Jack Bailey for their involvement with hockey and youth over the many years, the thrift shop donations they made to other organizations through their sales, Colleen McAllister, who operates a youth center, has for years, and Mr. Pitts, who's an author and a historian for the Madoc area. MP Shelby Cramp-Nyman and MPP Rick Brissy, Mayor Tom DeLine, Mayor Lloyd Blackburn made the presentations. The contributions by our volunteers in these communities are invaluable. On behalf of Marmon Lake Council, congratulations on this recognition and thank you for your dedication. And that afternoon, I attended the very last part of the Alto community meeting. And for the part I was there, the speakers were presenting their positions on the project. Signs, shirts, and information were available. And Councillor Dow, you were there for the first part, but I was there for the last part. April the 30th, I attended Hastings County Council. The next day, I met with MPP Rick Brissy in his office. This was an unannounced impromptu meeting, and I appreciate that he met with me without prior notice. We discussed a number of topics, but the main one being the request for funding for Highway 14. And there's a notice of motion later in the agenda. May the 2nd, Deputy Mayor Stevens, Councillor Dow, and I assisted with the annual tree giveaway at the fairgrounds. Thank you to Mike and Eric for organizing the event and to the volunteers who helped. And the volunteers were Judy Jackson, Sean Graham, and Sue Stevens. It was a very successful event, and almost all the trees were gone within a very short period of time. So thank you again to the volunteer groups and individuals who cleaned the garbage around the municipality. Thanks to the municipal staff who collected the trash and delivered it to the landfill. And tonight is our regular planning and council meeting. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation. Is online, Kristen? So it's John Mascaron regarding the closed meeting investigation report. And the recommendation is that council and senior staff shall receive comprehensive training on the open meeting rule as set out in section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 from a qualified and experienced third party no later than the end of the first quarter of 2027. That council directs staff to update the municipal procedural bylaw at the earliest opportunity to correct the technical errors that are cited as at paragraph 44 and at footnotes 6 and 7 of the report. And further, that council and all staff shall ensure that the clerk is consulted on all matters proposed to be considered in a closed meeting, recognizing that there may be some limited occasions when the clerk may not be available to provide her expert advice, and that the clerk shall be authorized to consult with independent legal counsel should she require expert advice in order to accurately instruct the municipality. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Eric, second Ron. I guess we'll hold discussion until after the presentation. Sorry, Jane, go ahead.
May I make a friendly amendment to the recommendation?
I think that's okay, Kristen, at this point.
It's just a few words, but I printed it out so that everybody can read it, if I may pass it around. Is that okay?
That's up to the clerk. That's
I thought
procedurally okay.
And my friendly amendment is that, and further, that the CAO, should they choose to dismiss the clerk's advice in preparation for future meetings, be required to disclose this choice to council prior to the meeting or meetings in question.
I need some direction here. Is this an amendment or a friendly amendment, Kristen?
I think if the mover and seconder are okay with adding that, we could do that. If they're not, then we would maybe look at a formal motion to amend.
Okay, so Eric?
Yeah, excellent. Great amendment.
Ron, as seconder, you're okay with that? So it is a friendly amendment then? Okay. So I guess we'll hear the presentation before we open it to questions and comments. Okay. So Mr. Mascaron, I believe that he's online. Are we ready to go, Kristen? So welcome, John. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is John Mascaron. I'm a lawyer with Aird & Burles in Toronto. I lead all of our accountability mandates for the municipality, including as closed meeting investigator. Your municipality has delegated, or has appointed the authority for closed meeting investigations to Local Authority Services, which is an arm of AMO. LAS reached out and did a public procurement, and we were the successful bidder for the closed meeting investigation work 7 years ago. Our contract's been renewed 3 times since that time, and that's how we became your closed meeting investigator, because your municipality appointed LAS, who then delegated us and through a successful public procurement process. Before we take on any accountability mandate, we make sure that we run a thorough conflict check to ensure that we're not in conflict or have any issues, and it was clear, so we proceeded on this matter. Madam Mayor, members of council, I'll take you through the report in brief. I don't propose to go through it in any detail. You have the full report there in front of you, but I will just highlight a few points in it. And then I'm pleased to answer any questions that you, Madam Mayor, or any members of council may have on the report. Just briefly, just over 2 months ago, on March the 4th, we received a closed meeting investigation request. Any person in Ontario is entitled to make a request alleging that a municipality may not have complied with the open meeting rule under Section 239 of the Municipal Act, or the provisions of the municipality's procedure bylaw in relation to a closed meeting. The closed meeting at issue was a meeting that council had on June the 3rd, 2025. There were 4 items on the agenda, and the requester was only concerned about one item. It was the last item on the closed meeting agenda, which dealt with a matter relating to the agreement with the Lions Club. That matter was discussed in camera. The reason for convening in camera was because the matter would be discussing solicitor-client privileged advice. So to be very clear, we reviewed the matter. We looked at the exception. We looked at the underlying purposes for the exception. All of those are noted, including a number of closed meeting investigation reports from the Ontario Ombudsman and others. And it is our determination, as set out in the report, that while the meeting may have, the closed meeting may have perhaps mentioned something about solicitor-client privilege advice, the overall purpose, the overall underlying reason for the meeting was to discuss a draft agreement that the municipality was considering and negotiating with the Lions Club. We found no evidence that the main part of the closed meeting was to hear solicitor-client privileged advice. We acknowledge, and we've indicated very clearly, that we understand that the CAO was reporting, and he had a staff report on the agenda, that he was reporting based on information that he had received from your solicitor. However, the preponderance of the evidence that we saw did not appear to indicate that the reason that you were in camera was to discuss solicitor-client privilege advice. And we interviewed the clerk several times. We interviewed the CAO/deputy clerk. We interviewed your worship, Mayor O'Neill, and we also, at the mayor's urging, had an interview with the president of the Lions Club, who did do a public delegation when the matter went forward to be finally approved by council at its meeting in an open session on September the 5th. After having reviewed all of those matters, and you'll see at section 4 of our report, which is midway through page 2, we set out all of the materials that we did review. And it is not our understanding that the main reason was that council was meeting to hear solicitor-client privileged advice. Your lawyer was not present. That's not determinative. Your lawyer does not have to be present in order for a municipality to receive solicitor-client privileged advice or to receive communications related to solicitor-client privileged advice. And again, we acknowledge that there were at least a couple of mentions of, I was informed by legal counsel of this. This is the CAO. I was informed by legal counsel. Legal counsel indicated this, but that wasn't the overall basis for the matter to proceed into closed session under the exception for solicitor-client privileged advice. The main reason that we could discern was that the reason you were there was to consider amendments that were made to the draft agreement in order to have negotiations and to provide a revised draft to the Lions Club on an agreement that had been long outstanding. So you'll see my analysis throughout. You'll see that I refer to the procedure bylaw, provisions dealing with the open closed meetings, the exception under clause 239 to F of the statute dealing with solicitor-client privileged advice, and reasons for it. you'll see at paragraph 49 and following, some comments from us as to the very reason why municipalities and councils and local boards go into a closed session. You'll see at paragraph 51, we indicate that a brief mention or of in passing or a reference to previously received legal advice would not be sufficient to render the entire discussion to be sheltered under that exception, and that the exception does not include a discussion about a topic other than the legal advice itself. So, and you'll see that we quote or cite in the footnotes a number of sources for that. So our ultimate determination, based on our review of the materials, and you'll see it specifically set out in paragraph 67 of the report, which is at the bottom of page 9. You'll see that we distill down the very reasons why we did not believe that the municipality met in closed session to discuss solicitor-client privilege advice. Now, this was a subject of some contention. The clerk had clearly advised that she did not believe, based on her qualifications, her experience, and her training as a clerk, that the exception would permit the discussion to be had in a closed session, and she indicated that. The CAO disagreed and was firm about it, as the clerk was, that it shouldn't have proceeded in a closed session. And then you'll see at paragraph 67 where we refer to the evidentiary record, where we point out that the closed minutes do not expressly mention any legal advice. And on our view, the main topic of the closed meeting was something other than the legal advice itself. The confidential closed notes that the clerk was kind enough to provide to us indicated that there had been a statement about a legal review, and that there had been a mention about a lawyer having advice on the matter. But she provided to us 5 densely typed pages where those were really the only mentions about legal advice. The entire closed session, in her estimation, dealing with the Lions Club agreement, was approximately 70 minutes. My estimation, my opinion on it is that if there had been a greater discussion of the legal advice, it would have come up in the closed minutes or in the closed notes, and it didn't. It just didn't. We were provided with correspondence from the CAO indicating that following a discussion with a member of council, the draft agreement with the Lions Club ought to be considered in camera, quote, as members of council would like to have a discussion without it being fettered by the open part of business. To be honest, council, that doesn't look very good. Finally, we interviewed the mayor, and we asked the mayor if she could recollect and describe to us what the discussion was in closed session. She read us the closed meeting minutes verbatim. That required us to ask a question. We asked the mayor, and this is under subparagraph 4, was council provided with legal advice? And her response was very direct, no. We thought we'd try one more time, and so my question was whether the mayor recalled any specific legal advice being provided at the closed meeting. Her answer again was no. There was no way around indicating that the meeting was for legal advice provided by your solicitor. That brings us to the second part of the matter, which is the vote. Under section 239 sub 6 of the Municipal Act, council is not entitled to vote at a closed session unless council is properly in the closed session, and it's conjunctive, and council either provides directions to staff or to consultants or to agents, or the vote is for a procedural matter. Because council was not properly in a closed session, the vote that was taken at closed session was, in my view, inappropriate. Now, that would have normally ended the matter, but the closed meeting investigation request asked us to look at the legality of what had happened. And one of the comments made in the request, in my view, required us to review the matter just a little further and to look at what happened at the September 5th meeting. So the request was, could we determine the legality of what had happened, including what had happened at the September 5th meeting? So what happened at the September 5th meeting is that the matter had proceeded forward throughout the summer. The closed meeting was on June the 2nd. The closed meeting was on June the 2nd. And then the September meeting was the final meeting where council would hear from the public and be able to discuss in open session the matter, so council could vote and pass a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement. Now, there was a delegation from the president of the Lions Club that evening, and she put forward a number of statements as to why the agreement was a good thing and it should proceed forward. The matter then, the meeting proceeded, and then the item came up for discussion at the open meeting. And when it came up, Councillor Lakatos asked to make a few comments and also ask a few questions, and she was stopped, which was indicated by the mayor to be because the matter had already been dealt with. Now, I found that a little puzzling, and having reviewed the video recording of the meeting, I could tell that it was puzzling for people at the meeting. Councillor Lakatos appeared to be a little confused at the moment when that happened. Again, my impression of watching the video recording. The mayor stated very clearly, we've agreed to it already, and stopped Councillor Lakatos from speaking. Now, this was the point in the meeting where questions and comments could be made, because this was the final opportunity. It was being discussed in an open session. And so therefore, I had to look back to find out what happened to the agreement. Had it somehow been approved earlier? My review of the meeting of June the 2nd, the closed meeting, indicated that there was no final agreement that was put forward. It was very clear that staff was given direction to bring forward a revised agreement to the Lions Club. So I didn't find any other indication. I questioned the mayor about this, and she was very clear that the agreement had been signed prior to the open meeting on September the 5th. When I asked the question of, well, why was the agreement then in front of council? And I pointed out that it was there to be approved by council so that the mayor and clerk could sign the agreement. The mayor said that must have been an error. So I found no evidence whatsoever that the agreement had actually been authorized prior to the September 5th meeting. Council did take a vote at the meeting and did approve the form of the agreement at the meeting and authorized the mayor and clerk to sign it. So I found no evidence that the agreement had been agreed to and had been actually signed before the meeting. However, that was the explanation by the mayor as to why Councillor Lakatos could not raise any questions at the open meeting, which in my expert view was the point of time in which questions could be asked in the open public forum. So I had to review that because the question was asked whether there was any illegality that happened at the meeting. So I wouldn't say that was illegal, but it seemed to be extraordinary that the time when it comes to discuss the agreement and there's a stop put on it because someone said the agreement's been done. It's finalized. The agreement wasn't finalized until council voted to finalize it and have it executed. So those are the two aspects of the report, Madam Mayor, members of council. My ultimate conclusion is that council did breach the open meeting rule in section 239 by having a closed meeting with an exception that did not apply. It also then voted inappropriately at the closed meeting to move the matter ahead. So, and I did find no other closed meeting that seemed to indicate that the agreement had somehow been agreed to or had been signed or authorized to be signed ahead of time, which it couldn't have been done through a closed meeting in any event. So that took us to the, those are my conclusions. The recommendations are set out at the top of page 13 in item 9. They've been read to you. I am asking council to agree to have comprehensive training, but I also appreciate that this is almost the end of this term of council, so I would recommend it before the end of the first quarter next term. There were a couple of technical errors that I saw in your current bylaw. Those didn't have any huge bearing on this report or this investigation, but I thought I should point them out, and so I recommended that they be changed and updated. And then finally, the recommendation that the clerk, who is the person who is qualified, who has been trained, and who has experience with the open meeting rule and its exceptions, that her advice take precedence over anyone else's advice with respect to whether there is authority for a closed meeting. This will protect the municipality in the future. I also recommend that if the clerk has any unease or is unsure about whether a closed meeting can be held or should be held, that she be authorized to reach out to independent legal counsel. I wouldn't suggest your regular legal counsel, but independent legal counsel to get expert advice. And then I understand that Councillor Lakatos has also offered an additional, I guess, recommendation, and I make no comments on that. So, Madam Mayor, members of council, that is my explanation, my presentation of the report, and I will now be pleased to answer any questions that anyone may have. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Mascaron? Mike?
I always have questions. The only reason why it was the vote was illegal is because we didn't discuss client solicitor privilege at that point in time, but we were under the understanding that we were doing it properly. So you say it was an illegal vote, and I agree with you, but it's only illegal because we shouldn't have been. There was no real client solicitor privilege that we were talking about. But we were talking about an agreement, and we did vote on it in closed at that point in time. Therefore, when it come up on September 5th, because we usually don't have, I can't remember that. I think this year we did have meetings in August, which you usually don't have, but it's a long time ago. So it came up. It had already been discussed in closed for, like you said, 70 minutes. And so when it came up, we all thought, at least I thought, it had already been approved from the previous meeting, and this was a formality to do it in open session. So is my reasoning faulty? I know it's wrong, but is it faulty?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, with all due respect, Deputy Mayor, yes, your reasoning is faulty. The matter should not have proceeded in a closed session. It was very clear, at least to the clerk was, and she communicated this at least twice, that it should not have proceeded in a closed session. It still went ahead, and therefore, again, it was an improper vote. You may have been under a misunderstanding, but ignorance and misunderstandings are no defense at law.
I know it's no defense, but we passed it in open council on September after discussing it in closed where we shouldn't have discussed it. And all I'm saying is that everybody member of the council had felt that this thing had been discussed for 70 minutes in closed. Therefore, when it came up for final vote in open, so it'd be, we thought, legal and passed at that point in time. I'm not disputing that I was wrong. I'm disputing that my feeling was that it had already been discussed and was brought, it did not need to be discussed again in open.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else have any comments or questions for Mr. Mascaron? So, I guess if nobody has, go ahead, John.
So through you, Mayor, to council, I just have a statement I'd like to make, just not to interrupt any questions, but I want to acknowledge the findings of the closed meeting investigation. The report concludes, as John Mascaron has done a very thorough job, that the municipality contravened Section 239 of the Municipal Act. And as CEO, I accept those findings. The outcome sits with me. I believed I was acting appropriately at the time, and that judgment was wrong under the Act. And so I also did not give sufficient enough weight to the clerk's advice, and that was a mistake. And I also want to lastly say that the clerk raised concerns in advance. That was sound advice. And going forward, that will be fully respected as a governance safeguard. And also the idea of bringing trust and transparency to what goes forward.
Thank you, John. Anything further? Anyone else have any comments or questions? So I'll call to a vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Mascaron.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of council, for the opportunity to present for you. I wish you luck with the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane?
I would like to make a related motion, please. If I may, I have a paper I'd like to pass out. Kristen, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Kristen, do I get a piece of paper too?
Okay, my motion reads as follows. Whereas it has been confirmed by a report on closed meeting investigation 2026-01 by the municipality of Marmor and Lakes closed meeting investigator, Aird and Burles LLP, which was presented to council during open session on May 5th, 2026, and that the closed meeting of the Council of Marmor and Lake held on June 3rd, 2025, to discuss the alliance agreement has been found to have been an illegal closed meeting. And whereas it also has been ruled that voting in said agreement was invalid as the vote failed to comply with subsection 239(6) of the Municipal Act. Therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to seek independent legal advice from a law firm that specializes in open meeting exceptions per section 239(2) of the Municipal Act on the validity and legality of the Lions Agreement that is the subject of the Aird and Burles LLP closed meeting investigation.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
May I have a recorded vote?
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
I'll put it on the floor.
Eric? Eric is seconding that motion. Any comments or questions? Jane?
I think, given the report from the closed meeting investigation, and for the sake of transparency and accountability of the municipality of Marmor and Lake, we owe it to the ratepayers to assure them that this agreement is valid and that it's valid.
Thank you. Anything further? Any other comments? Eric?
Yeah, it's, as we were kind of just explained, the vote that was in open session was a valid vote. Now, that was a situation and there were some other details surrounding that, but in my understanding of what was just explained, that vote stands because it was valid. Now, I understand you're asking to go to other lengths to validate that that is a vote that stands. That's what you're asking for, correct?
Correct.
So just let me be clear on my understanding is what you are really suggesting is that the Lions agreement as we approved it is not legal.
No, I am not suggesting that. I am suggesting that we have a ruling to verify that it is legal, because I don't know that it was legal or is not legal, but I think based on the report and the findings of the report that voting was illegal and the meeting itself was illegal, that, as I said, we owe it to the ratepayers to verify the legality and validity of the report.
Eric?
A question through the chair to Councillor Lakatos. So what, in your vision, what would the next step be then? Would that ultimately that agreement come back to council for debate again if it was deemed to not be a legal agreement? What would you like to see?
Well, it's not what I would like to see. I think it's what needs to be done to ensure transparency as far as the municipality is concerned.
But through the chair, what would that look like then? That the agreement would come back for debate again?
The agreement would come back for a full debate of all councillors, and councillors would be entitled to ask all questions, and that the ratepayers' interests have been looked after by the representatives to whom they've elected. Mike,
I'm not sure. Kristen, is the, or John, can you answer the question? Is the agreement made public? Is it, or is it a private agreement, or what is that? Because my understanding is at September meeting, it was discussed to some extent, not thoroughly, because that 70 minutes enclosed was the discussion on the hammering out all the points in the agreement. Can you answer that question, John, Kristen, please?
You chair to the deputy mayor and the balance of council. That agreement has been signed. It was an open session. So from my understanding, it is in the public domain, and the contents, the details are all there in the public domain for people to see and scrutiny.
thank you.
Well, my opinion then is sort of the same as Eric's, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Mr. McCarron said that the second vote in September was legal, and it was going forward, and we did discuss it to some extent, and the public's already had a chance to read the whole thing out there. I don't see the point of spending more money now to get a legal advice on something that's already been said to be legal by the integrity commissioner.
Go ahead.
No, just to disrespect Deputy Mayor, but your opinion is not a legal opinion from legal experts. The closed meeting is what, not the majority, is what the balance of council voted in to bring into open. And I'll add that that closed meeting is what's been ruled illegal, and the vote was ruled illegal, hence my motion.
Anything further? And go ahead, Ron.
Through the chair to Counselor Lakatos, it's just a question. So I can be clear on this, you want to debate the agreement again, is that correct?
We want to fairly debate the agreement in a legal manner.
So that would be how it was done, not what's in it. Am I getting that right? Or you want to debate the agreement as well as how it's been done?
I would like to see the agreement debated fully in open as it should have been.
So further to that, I hear you, Jane. So without a lawyer involved, can we not just do that ourselves? If you want to debate it, because the lawyers cost some money, they're gonna, I mean, we spent a lot already. So if we want to debate it, we can debate it. I mean, I don't know if that's right or not, but I just don't know why it involved a lawyer. That's all.
May I offer a comment? Imagine how much this would have cost had the CAO listened to the clerk's advice.
Yeah, I understand that. And I'm just saying. I'm just asking a question. I'm just trying to understand where we're headed here. Is the agreement going to change, I guess is my question, or could it change?
I don't know because it hasn't been fully debated.
Go ahead.
But whether it was legal or not, during that 70 minutes, I do believe the whole thing was debated by council, maybe not in public, but by council. And then what was done at that point in time, it was published and the public had the opportunity to review it. And it was passed in open session after that. And both times it was passed. So I understand the first one was illegal, but it was illegal in the point that we shouldn't have done it. But everybody was under the impression at that point in time that it was fine. It wasn't a case of, we tried to get around something. And I don't think that we really need to debate the whole thing again when it's actually been passed once illegally and passed again after that legally. And it's the agreement that we have now. So my opinion is no.
Go ahead, Jane.
As the closed meeting investigator alluded to the 17 minutes of the report, and Deputy Mayor Stevens, you have used the word everyone a few times. Can you tell me 100% that everyone had a chance to debate the agreement? Can you tell me that? In the 70 minutes?
Okay.
No, I can't, because I can't even hardly remember back that far, but it was debated and he said it was debated for 70 minutes. So I'm taking his word for it. So that's all that, no, I don't want to re-debate it.
Go ahead, Jane.
I have a
Respectfully.
question. I have a question to the chair. May I ask the same question that I just asked Deputy Mayor Stevens of all of the councillors?
No, we have a motion in front of us and we've had a mover and a seconder. And I think that we've opened it up to everyone for comments and questions. So you've asked for a recorded vote.
I have.
On your motion. So I think we'll proceed to the recorded vote if the clerk will do that, please. If there's no further comments go ahead, Eric.
I don't know. I will just add, I totally understand where you're coming from here and the point. This closed meeting investigation didn't comment on what closed meeting section this could have gone under. That's the other perspective here. this was the wrong section is what he's determined here. But would there have been a valid section because this was a contract and contract negotiations? Was there a valid section that it could have been discussed under, which would have ultimately led to the possibly the same outcome?
And I think Mike made that comment prior to this, that we probably chose the wrong section to be under closed, just briefly. But anyway, if no other comments, questions, I'm going to call to a vote, and the clerk will call the recorded vote.
Councillor Lakatos,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stevens,
No.
Councillor Derry,
No.
Councillor Dow,
No.
Mayor O'Neill,
No. So that motion was defeated. So moving on, we come to the adoption of the minutes of the foregoing minutes of the regular meeting of the council of the municipality of Marmon Lake held Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ron, second Mike. Any discussion on those minutes? Being none, all in favor? Can I see the hands again? Sorry, okay, thank you. Staff reports, from a report by Transportation Services regarding crushed limestone tender. And the recommendation is that council accept the supply of crushed limestone granular M for 2026 capital projects report dated May the 5th, 2026. And further, that council award the contract to Danford Construction Limited to supply, haul, and spread 5/8" crushed limestone onto specified roads within Marmon Lake with a total cost of $465,990 plus HST. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Eric, Ron? Any discussion on that report? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, report by Transportation Services, double surface treatment tender. Recommendation is the council accept the supply of double surface treatment for 2026 capital projects report dated May the 5th, 2026. And further, that council award the contract to Greenwood Paving Limited to final grade compact water supply and apply double surface treatment to approximately 67,550 square meters of road for the total cost of $638,347.50 plus HST. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ron and second Eric. Any questions or comments on that report? Go ahead, Eric.
Through the chair to staff, I guess, do we know, is there any timeline on these projects?
So through your chair to Councillor Dow, I don't know the exact answer, but in terms of specific, my understanding is that the projects have not been delayed because of this. That's the reason for having these tenders forward. But I can confirm later on, either through an email, as to just exactly what that schedule is. I apologize for not having that ready.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Mike Levi, interim fire chief, the 2026 M&R agreement. There's a number of attachments, and the recommendation is that council receive the Ministry of Natural Resources Forest Fire Agreement report dated May the 5th, 2026 for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Eric, and second Mike. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Mike.
I'd just like to say that I've gone through the report. I didn't read every page, but I've looked through quite a bit of it. It's a very comprehensive report, and it sets out what M&R will do and what the municipality will do in case of a forest fire. I think it seems to be a really good agreement. The cost that we get from M&R and the amount of land that we have and the amount of land that they have, it's a most seasons it would probably be nil. We would owe them as much as they would owe us in particular things. And it's not a lot, it's not that expensive. The one thing I just did note is the use of the water bombers and helicopters, and that is only, the cost of those is only applicable while it's over the fire. Doesn't count their landing time and pickup time of water and that, which I think is pretty good deal on our part on that. There's a lot of information in there about what the municipality does and can do. I'd like to have the fire department come up to our area up here because we do have a huge load of slash and down trees in the area. And I already talked to Chief Levi, and I think that they will come up and have a look here. I know they will. But our area here is, I think, is under a heavy fire load. And to have an agreement like this is comforting to us. You know, I know a lot of people down south, there's a lot more open land and things like that. But up here, the amount of down trees and where they have gone in and logged, the amount that they had to leave behind because they couldn't even get it out. You know, I think it's a really good agreement, and thank you for Chief Levi for all the things that you've done for this agreement, and thank the M&R for getting the agreement done with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank. I'd just like to say that I think last year when we had the wildfire up north, it was the M&R that actually battled that fire. Am I right about that, Mike?
Yeah, the chief can chime in here, but I know we weren't flying the water bombers. They water bombed it twice. So, and it was way back in. It was in a huge swamp. It was only accessible by boat and four-wheeler.
Do you want
So I don't think.
Chief?
Sorry. You not hear me, or because I can't hear you?
On mute, Mike.
Thank you.
No.
Still fine? Hear me now?
Did you want to comment on
Wrong mic. Sorry.
on the fire, the wildfire last year and the involvement in that?
Yeah, it's through that agreement that M&R was solely responsible for putting out that fire, and but in other areas where the municipal fire department is able to assist, we would assist with them. That particular fire was an M&R fire.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on that agreement? All in favor? That's carried. Committee and board reports. We've got Economic Development Advisory Committee, the 2026 March 18th EDAC minutes, and Marmarin Lake Public Library Board minutes of March 19th, and the library board minutes. Recommendation that the foregoing minutes and reports of the committees and boards listed are hereby received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder for those reports, please, for those minutes? Go ahead, Eric. Thank you. Second. Can I get a seconder? Ron? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next is correspondence for direction from Cheryl Leonard, Highway 14 load restrictions. And the recommendation is that council receive the letter for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron? Second. Jane? Any comments on that letter? Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with Mrs. Leonard today about some of her concerns, and we had a good conversation about the load restrictions on Highway 14, and she understands the purpose of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next is notice of motions, and the motion is from Councillor Derry regarding Highway 14 load restrictions. Go ahead, Ron.
Highway 14 load restrictions, recommendation, whereas Highway 14 has experienced significant deterioration due to ongoing heavy traffic, whereas the road structure is particularly susceptible to damage during spring thaw periods. And whereas the municipality of Marmon Lake does not currently have sufficient funds to undertake a full reconstruction of Highway 14. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the municipality of Marmon Lake direct staff to look into implementation of seasonal load restriction of 5 ton per axle on Highway 14 during the spring thaw period to commence in 2027 and provide a report for council's consideration at a future meeting.
And were you going to add to that, Ron, for circulation to,
I need a second there.
oh, okay, I thought you could, oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Eric, second. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I just want to make a friendly amendment, I guess is what they call it, to circulate this motion to the municipality of Sterling and Rawdon, MPP Rick Brzee, and all appropriate ministry departments.
Okay, that's a friendly
Is
amendment.
that okay, Kristen?
You're okay with that, Eric? Any comments or questions on this motion? Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I guess, Ron, I don't know if you want to speak further for the public's information. Do you want to explain how load restrictions work, just so the public is aware?
Yeah, basically, through the chair to Councilor Dowd, basically, as soon as the thaw starts, and it could be anytime, February, usually they'll put a sign up at each end, and we have to coordinate that with Sterling. And it's 5 ton per axle, so that would pretty well eliminate any truck traffic at all. And that is the biggest problem on Highway 14 is the heavy loads are causing wheel ruts. So that's why we post our roads, and we post most of our roads except for the village here. But that's one road we don't, and it's really starting to show.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Go ahead, Mike.
From the motion, this is gonna come back for discussion in council, just for people out there who may want to have a, comments on the road restriction through there. I don't know how much industrial or commercial traffic uses Highway 14. I know 62 is used a lot, but I'm not sure how much on there and whether it'll affect anybody that's local to our municipality.
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to say in my mayor's report, I mentioned that I had met with MPP Rick Brzee, and I made him aware that this motion was coming before council tonight, and he actually encouraged it. Just because then there's an awareness, and one of the ministers that should be receiving this is the Minister of Transportation. We've put on at least 3 delegations along with Sterling Rawdon to ministers at conferences on this very topic. And, he sort of encouraged us to go forward with this. Go ahead, Mike.
To your point, Mayor, Highway 14 has been on the agenda since I came on council 12 years ago. And we've not got a cent from the province in any of those years going forward. So they've been trying to get that road fixed or redone for over 12 years. So just a point, it's about time that we got some money to do it.
Well, we're going to do we're requesting another delegation for AMO. And hopefully, I think MPP Brzee is now, the parliamentary assistant to the manager of transportation. So we're sort of hoping that, we've got to keep pushing for it. I mean, we have no choice. So he sort of encouraged that has happened in one of our other municipalities in Hastings County. And eventually the message was there. And I keep saying, one of my rants is every other north-south road is a provincial highway provincial highway, except 14, and 14 is municipal. So it just doesn't seem like, it's an equal, like money. It's a tough thing for us to budget for that kind of highway. When the other north-south routes are all provincial. So anyway, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I just want to make one more comment about it. I drove it yesterday and from Sterling to Springbrook, it's 12 kilometers. From Springbrook to Marmora, it's another 12 kilometers. But from Springbrook to Marmora, it's a lot worse than going south. So it might not be as bad if we just do from Springbrook to Marmora. It might cost us less, but anyway, and I'd like to come right through town when we do it, if that's possible. So that would pick up at Forsyth Street too. So yeah, so anyway, it's not as bad going south, but it still has some problems, but the worst of it's going north.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Announcements. Anybody have any announcements? Jane?
Thank you. This is a nice announcement. On the heels of Marmora Pickleball being mentioned in the ambassador program on the Economic Development Committee's minutes of March 18th, I would like to say that our very own Marmora Pickleball Club at the Hastings Fieldhouse Tournament cleaned up. We got 3 gold medals. Marmora Pickleball Club got 3 gold medals, women's doubles, men's doubles, and mixed doubles. We got 1 silver medal in the mixed doubles, and we got 2 bronze. So woo woo to the Marmora Pickleball Club. Good job.
Excellent. Anyone else? Eric?
I'd just like to thank everyone, all the members of the community who participated in Trash Bash. It was a great success. We had almost 400 kilograms of garbage that was picked up from the sides of the road. It totally filled the parks truck. Thank you to all the private residents that did that individually, the Marmora Girl Guides, the Marmora Public School, the Cook Road Club, and the Lions Club, who all teamed up that weekend to clean. So thank you very much. Thank you to Parks for all the work they did going around and collecting all that material. And a special thanks to Ann McNeil, who volunteered her time to put all those packages together for residents with the bags and gloves. So thank you for everyone who participated. It definitely made a difference.
Thank you. Anyone else have any announcements? Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the OPP have been conducting a traffic blitz in the last few weeks in the Highway 62, Highway 7, and South corridors through here. They're stepped up. I guess they've had too many speeding and too many accidents through that area. The other thing is the detachment out of Madoc, which services our area, is at 84% staffing. I know that doesn't sound like wonderful, but from what we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, that's great. We got enough staff to fully run the detachment. The other thing is Shawano ran a trash bash on the weekend, and it was very successful. We had the most people ever show up, and we were done in about an hour and a half. We did all the roads, North Steenberg Lake Road, Old Hastings, all the roads around Dickey Lake. And the other good thing was, seeing as we've been doing it for about 5 or 6 years, there's way less trash in the thing. And we did get another car part in the ditch though. And I think it belonged to the same parts of a car that we got 2 years ago. So I don't know who's cutting up cars and throwing them in the ditch, but it doesn't make sense. Anyways, thank you, everybody.
Yes, again, just a huge thank you and recognition of our volunteers in these communities, because it's just amazing what they contribute. Trash Bash is just a good example, and I think every municipality around us, I think we're doing similar things, and again, it's just we just rely so much on volunteers. So thank you to everyone. Anything further? Being not, let's go into closed session, and the recommendation is that council will proceed into a closed session meeting at, what is it? 39. Thanks, Kristen. Under the Municipal Act, Section 2001, Section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, recruitment. B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, Ministry of Labor's follow-up. A, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board regarding the BISB agreement. B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, policy enforcement. And I have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Ron, second. Jane, all in favor? That's carried. So we'll give staff a few minutes